Hey guys, how's it going? Carl here, North Coast Constrictors, Belita, South Africa. It's my son Max. And what we're going to do today is this is going back to basics, as the video would suggest. This is not for you professional breeders or you intermediate breeders. This video is for somebody that wants to own a ball python for the first time, okay? And only buy one. From there, if you decide to buy 2, 3, 4, 200, 300, 500, that's a video that you can watch on my YouTube channel. Just scroll back and have a look at that. Those are in these racking systems. There's about 400 ball pythons in here in total, which you can't see all of them because of where the camera is. However, it all started right here in an enclosure almost identical to this one with a baby or a yearling wild type no gene ball python. So in other words, it wasn't a lavender, it wasn't a pied, it was just a single absolutely wild type looking ball python, the cheapest one that you get on the market, which I bought for my son Max here for Christmas in 2019. Sorry, 2020. And it's now 2023. So started off with one and I now have about 400. I ended up wanting to become a ball python breeder. Nature's in my blood. I used to be a game ranger. I wasn't a big reptile person, but I absolutely fell in love with ball pythons after buying my son one of these as a pet. They are very easy to manage. They are lovely snakes as pets. They are docile. Of course, you can get the cranky ones, but it is what it is. So what I'm going to do on this video today is I'm going to go from A to Z on how to set up your ball python enclosure for your brand new ball python, okay? And a list of things that you will need before you consider even going to a breeder, a pet shop, or whoever you have decided you're going to buy this ball python from. These are the things and the tools that you need in order to keep the snake in a safe environment that is at the correct temperature with the correct humidity, the correct cleaning utensils, and all the bits and bobs, because this is not a snake that you can just put into an enclosure and forget about it and just change the water and feed it once a week, okay? The temperature needs to be between 30 and 32.5 degrees Celsius on the hot spot. You need a cool spot. You need to have the room at a certain humidity. If you live on the coast, you don't have to worry about that. If you live somewhere inland where it's very, very dry, you may need to have a humidifier in the room. Okay, but it's not necessary for one ball python. But when you have a collection as large as I have, and there's probably about 3 million rands worth of ball pythons in this room, I run a temperature controlled environment so that the ambient temperature is constant out of season, and then I change the temperatures while I'm breeding. But that's a separate video. I don't want to get off track. Let's discuss you getting your new ball python. So you want to buy a new ball python. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to have somewhere to keep your ball python, and enclosure like this. This would be for an adult, okay? But unless you've got the money and you want to buy something half the size and then upgrade to this when the ball python gets older, that's entirely up to you. This is the smallest enclosure that I have, so this is the one I'm going to use for the video. Okay, right. In your enclosure, you can use different types of substrate. Substrate is what you keep the ball python on. Okay, I've got the lights off here now just to... Inside this one, I've got wood chip, okay? It's pine, it's kiln dried wood chip. It means it's been cleared and dried and heated up so that it's killed any parasites, okay? Very, very important to have the correct substrate. You can use cocoa husk, you can use plain old newspaper if you want, nothing wrong with newspaper. You can use wood shavings, okay, like this. I use wood shavings. These are pine kiln dried wood shavings. I use them in my racks, but that's a preference for my breeders. But let's talk for as a pet. I would put pine shavings in here, but for this video, I've used wood chip. Okay, but newspaper is perfectly okay. What you need in your enclosure before you even get started is you need a hot spot and a cool spot. Okay, and in order to have a hot spot, you need heating and a thermostat. This is a heat pad. Okay, this is a small, medium size, not exactly 100% certain, but you buy one appropriate for the size of the enclosure. And this, what you can't see, but what I do have connected underneath here, underneath the tank, is a heat pad, which then generates heat via a thermostat, which is over here. Okay, you can see this thermostat. I haven't got someone to zoom in, unfortunately, guys, which has got it set right now at 34 degrees, and a high of 34 degrees and a low of 34.5 degrees. Sorry, 33.5 degrees. Okay, now the reason that's not the ideal temperature to keep your ball python at. The ideal temperature for your hotspot, which brings me to the next most important thing that you need to invest in, is a heat gun. This takes the temperature of whatever you want to measure. That's 26.1 degrees. Your hotspot for a ball python, your range, it can range anywhere between the coldest, I would let the ball, setting wise, I wouldn't let it drop below 30 degrees Celsius. Guys, I'm going to be talking in degrees Celsius here. If you want to do the conversion to Fahrenheit, just jump onto Google Converter and you go degrees Celsius Fahrenheit, and you can type in. The hottest I would ever allow my hotspot to go is 32.5 degrees Celsius. But for me, my sweet spot for a hotspot on a ball python enclosure, be it in a racking system or an enclosure, is 31 to 31.5 degrees Celsius. Now, although I've got the thermostat here set at 34.5 degrees Celsius, that's because the heat pad that is underneath here, this heat pad, has to heat up a piece of wood about an inch thick and get through, and then there's still a layer of substrate on top here. Okay, so although it sits at 34 or 34.5 degrees Celsius, when I come and check here, and this is how I check my hotspots, is I use that. Now, right now, that hotspot is sitting at 30 degrees Celsius, but it will go up to about 31.5 to 32 degrees Celsius. I just set this up quickly to make this video. The second, this is probably your most important piece of equipment. Okay, all right, that there on every single one of my enclosures here, when I am busy doing temperature checks, I use that to see what my hotspots are. Okay, the thermostats are just a guideline and you set them. It is never going to be identical to what the actual temperature is on the spot, because you've got to go through wood and all of that. So you set your thermostats and you play around with them. Right. Let's put on the light of this enclosure. Okay. So you need a thermostat, which is obviously powered to a power supply. There's 4 wires here. 2 are for your plug and 2 are for your heat mat. Okay. This is your heat mat. And then this will control the thermostat. Now, on the thermostat, there is a probe which runs inside and is put directly in the middle of where but it's inside the enclosure. Although this heat mat is outside the enclosure, underneath, the probe that picks up the temperature is over here in the middle of where it would be. Okay, so that is the actual temperature that you will the probe is picking up. So when it gets to the correct temperature, the reading on the thermostat will change. I've just set it to 34.5 degrees because I'm trying to heat the tank up, the enclosure up quickly. So you won't be able to see this, but you just peel this off. It's sticky on the one side. You just stick it on underneath, and you can, if you know your way around electrics, and you can work with wiring and whatnot, you can connect this up yourself very, very easily. I did. If you're not sure, you can get someone else to do it for you that's an electrician. Okay. The first thing that you need, and we're going to start off with a small ball python. Okay. You need a hard. Okay. You can get rock hards like this one here. This is for a juvenile. It's got a little opening over here. All right. This you put over the hotspot like that. Okay. I don't know if you can even see it with the lights on. Okay, that you put over the hotspot. Okay, this is where your ball python is going to spend most of his or her day. All right, you only have heat on that side. All right, on the other side now of the enclosure, you have a water bowl. Now, if you want to be fancy, you can go for a lovely, beautiful, and when you've got a display tank, do this. Have a hard like that. You can have a hard like this. This is just a plain basic round bowl hard. It costs a couple of rand. That is made out of wood, is a bit more expensive. Or you can have a water bowl like this, or you can have a cheap plastic water bowl like a dog bowl like this. It really doesn't matter. It's all up to your budget. Okay, you will put the water on the cool side of the enclosure over there. Okay, and make sure that you've got your ball python fresh water every 2 to 3 days. Okay, and what you do is you take that out, you throw the water out, you get some paper towel, which I don't have with me at the moment, and you wipe it because it tends to get a bit slimy. You don't want that for your ball python. Okay, so now that you've got that set up, you've got your enclosure set up. If you want, you can put a bit of cage decorations inside there. The busier, the better. You can get some driftwood. You can even put another hard on the other side of the enclosure. Okay, so now that you've got everything, you've got your hard in there. You put some water inside there. All right, and then you've made sure that your temperatures are all set correctly. All right, and now you're ready to introduce your ball python to its enclosure. So what we'll do for the first snake is we'll pull out this beautiful, this is a lavender albino, 100% het pied, 50% het clown, female. This is not an entry level snake. This is a high end, on the higher end of snakes. She is worth probably about 20,000 rand as an adult proven breed, and she's a yearling. So that's what she's worth as a hatchling. Once she's an adult female proven breeder, or she's a female already, but once she's a proven breeder, we can add a good 10 to 15,000 rand onto that price, because it takes 2 to 3 years for them to get breeding ready, and we'll show you what one looks like. So now you've gone and outlaid and bought yourself a ball python, but I'm just using this one. I have got cheaper ones that I can pull out, but I just wanted to show you how lovely this snake looks. So now we put the ball python in, and they're going to go, first thing, probably going to have a little look around, close the enclosure, and the other thing you need is a rubber stopper like this. Okay, and you put it over there in the glass. Now, it's probably very difficult to see what's going on inside the enclosure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for a second, just bring it down here so that you guys can see. So Max, why don't you turn on the light there for me, please, boy? Okay, so what she's doing now is she's inspecting her enclosure. All new smells and not quite sure what to make of it, that's what's going to happen. She'll probably find that hole there, and she will go and rest inside there and spend most of the day there. They are nocturnal. And when she's ready to go to the cool end of the tank and have some water, she's going to go down that side. Not only that, that's how they thermoregulate. When they want to warm up, they're on that side of the enclosure. When they want to cool down, they'll go down that side. A lot of the movement that you will notice or witness will happen at night. During the day, they will more than likely be underneath that enclosure or that hide. Very, very important. Guys, a lot of people wonder why we keep ball pythons in racking systems, okay? And I'm going to explain that to you. All right. If ball pythons' natural habitat are dark, damp, confined spaces. Termite mounds in sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana, Benin, and Togo. All right. They do not like big, open spaces. They feel threatened. They like tight, dark, confined areas. That is why I keep my ball pythons, my adults, in these enclosures like this. This is what they like. You will usually find them underground in old rat burrows. They will go and set up there in ambush. You will find them in termite mounds. You will find them in dark, tight, damp enclosures. Look, she's cruising around now. This is not her normal enclosure. She is in one of these racking systems, but that's not because I'm a breeder. But what I'm showing you here is if you wanted to own a pet now, this is how you'd set up your enclosure. Okay, this is too big for her. I would go smaller, but I'm also going to show you now, if you wanted to buy an adult ready to go, this would be a perfect size for that adult. But what you would change are the size of the hides. Okay, so let's take this one out. And also your water container, your water, you would need a slightly, and let's take her out as well. Okay, so this would be what you would probably start off with, or maybe a little bit smaller when you buy your first ball python. Okay, my hatchlings are right behind there, so I can't actually get to their hatchlings, but they're probably about half this size. This is a yearling. She's about 6 months old, 5 months old. Okay, so let's put her away, and let's go to an adult female. Okay, this is by no means a big adult female. Okay, she can still grow probably about 1.5 times the size. This is your normal wild type ball python with no genes in it whatsoever. There are no genes. This is just your cheapest off the shelf, what you'd probably find at your local pet store. Probably, I don't know what in the United States you pay for them. Here in South Africa right now, the going rate for a snake like this is about 400, 500 Rand for a female, about 300 Rand for a male. Okay, but what's nice and why people love these snakes as pets, you said they're docile, and you know, she's almost fully grown. I have got others that are much bigger than this, but they generally get to about 4 feet maximum. I have got one that's close on 6 feet, but she has the Volta gene in her, which is it's a gene that, well, for another, you can Google Volta. Right, so let's have a look here, and now you would up the hide. Now you got a nice beautiful rock hide like this, stunning, always over the hot spot. Okay, Max, won't you hold? This was Max's present for Christmas, it was the snake that got everything going. And then you'd use a slightly bigger water bowl. Okay, it's got a deli cup inside, 500 mils, and you would put that on the cool end of the enclosure and just do exactly the same as what we did with the smaller one. Put some water in it. You've got your hard, and then take your ball python, and an enclosure this size is 100%. There she goes, straight into the hard. That's what ball pythons do. That's what they like. That's the hot spot. She's going for the heat. She'll probably go and curl up inside there. I don't know how well you can see it. Get down. There she's going straight inside the enclosure. I mean, inside the hard. And she will curl up inside there and spend most of her day inside that hard. And then she'll come out and have a drink of water. At night, she'll be most active. And during the day, she will more than likely hide underneath there because they like, would you turn the lights on, please, boy? They like those dark, tight, confined spaces. All right. So there's a setup, guys. That is your setup there for a ball python as a beginner, and you want your first setup. Okay. Now, what you're going to need when you have your ball pythons to care for them and to maintain them. And I'm going to go through a list of the products that you need to buy. Okay. You need F10 disinfectant. This is a pet-friendly veterinary disinfectant. Okay. And what we do is we put it in a bottle like this, a spray bottle, and you can have 1 mil to 1 liter, 2 mils, 3 mils, 4 mils. 4 mils is about the strongest, and that is to when you want to disinfect and clean. So you take out once a week, usually we take out all the substrate, replace it with clean substrate. But before we do that, we spray the tank down with F10. So what I normally do is I take a syringe, a 3 mil syringe like this, and then I suck out 3 mils of F10. This is concentrated F10. I squirt it into this 1 liter bottle and then top it up with water, mix it all around, and then spray down the entire enclosure, kills any bacteria, makes it nice and clean. Wipe it down with a cloth or paper towel, fresh substrate. I make sure I do that to the water bowl as well, the hard as well. Clean everything up while she's in a holding container and put her back inside. All right. So guys, her hotspot would be sitting there around about 31 to 32 degrees Celsius. And on the cooler end of the tub here, the temperature, whatever the temperature is in the room, your ambient temperature, that is what the temperature will be there on the cool side. Roughly the temperature, well, look, I've got that set at 20 degrees now because I'm trying to cool the room down, but generally this room is sitting at about 26 degrees Celsius, and I didn't feel like making a video in 26 degrees Celsius. I would be sweating like crazy. So as soon as I'm finished this video, the air conditioner, which is up there, you can't see it, there it is up there, I'll set that back up to make the ambient temperature of this room 26, 27 degrees. And she's got her head sticking out. Obviously, she's inquisitive and she's curious now. She wants to know what's going on, and because she's been taken out of her racking system. So, guys, there you have your setup. Now, if you don't have the finances, see how she's all curled up, okay? And you don't want to, you can turn that off, okay? If you don't have the finances for a hard like that, just a plain basic hard like this will do the job perfectly. You can see she'll curl underneath it nicely. Just plastic. It's got a little opening in it. If you can't afford one of these, you don't need to be fancy, guys. You can just take a little dog bowl like that, or that would be more for cats, and you can put it in like that. Doesn't look great if you want it as a display, but I mean, I'd rather go for the rock, but I mean, that's just personal preference. Okay, so guys, Very important as well if you've got a collection of snakes like I do, F10 hand gel, or if you've just been out and about, if you've got other pets or whatever, and you want to handle your snake, F10 hand gel, clean all the bacteria off your hands, okay? So that, and it's pet friendly, okay? And then what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this hard out, and I'm going to take this snake, and we also, this is what you want to do now. You want to handle your snake, you want it as a pet. This is what it's all about. This is what having a ball python is all about. This is why guys like ball pythons sometimes as opposed to retics. They're very, very friendly. Okay, I do have some that aren't that friendly and they want to take a chunk out of me. But my son is 10, almost 11 next month. He can handle these snakes, no problem. They're great for beginners. You can upgrade from that to Doomerals, boas, and then from there up to retics. If you want to breed these snakes, then you start looking at the racking systems. Okay, so guys, that is pretty much. Oh, let's carry on with the things that you need. Guys, something that's going to happen, and I know this video is going to be a bit long. However, I did say we were going to go from A to Z, what you need for your ball pythons. And I don't want to leave anything out, okay? So we've covered F10, we've covered your hot spots and your cool spots. Don't let the cool spot drop below 30 degrees Celsius, the hot spot drop below 30 degrees Celsius. And don't let it go above 33 degrees Celsius. You do not want your hotspot. Too hot is too hot, too cold is too cold. The sweet spot is 31.5 degrees, 31 to 31.5 degrees Celsius on your hotspot. And you check that temperature daily, guys, with your temp gun. Okay, daily. And that way you know, because your thermostat could have broken, there could be a broken wire or something, and your thermostat is showing a certain temperature, but the temperature inside your enclosure on the hotspot isn't what the thermostat is telling you, and you can always just make sure by putting a heat gun on it, and to make sure. And ball pythons have to be kept at between 30 and 32.5 degrees Celsius. That is their temperature. The humidity between 70 and 80% is the ideal humidity. Right now, the humidity in this room, I've got over here a device which tells me the ambient temperature and the humidity at 60 degrees, 60% humidity, but we're going into winter now. It's a little bit drier. Usually it's around 70, 75%, and it's, but if you want them inside the enclosure, you want the humidity, what we do is we spritz them down with water. You're going to have a container, a little spray bottle like this with water. And while she's inside, you can just lift up. Hello. This is what's so great about having ball pythons. They are not aggressive. They child friendly, easy to handle. Anybody can handle it, even if you're petrified of snakes. These are the kind of snakes that you use to introduce people into the reptile industry. That is, there's a reason why they are the world's best-selling pet snake. So to up the humidity in the tank, if it's not quite, you can get another. This probe over here picks up humidity. You can put it in the tank for about 2 or 3 minutes. It'll pick up the humidity and tell you what it is. If you need the humidity to be a bit higher, you can just spritz down with a bit of like fine spray like that inside the tank. It'll increase the humidity, perfect for the ball python. When she goes into the bloom, she wants to shed her skin. You normally feed these snakes once a week. And what you would do is you would feed it a rodent the same size thickness as the thickest part of her body. Okay, so if I were to feed her now, she would get a rat that's about as thick as that. Okay, and normally every 7 to 10 days is how you would feed your ball python. You can stretch it out to 2 weeks. A lot of people do, but roughly every 7 to 10 days is optimal to feed your ball python. In the wild, they don't get to eat as much as that, but in captivity, you know, if you want it to be a healthy snake, she's on every 10 days at the moment. I sometimes push it to 2 weeks. A ball python, guys, this is another thing about ball pythons that you need to understand. As a new ball python owner, you will at some point and probably a few times experience your ball python going on a hunger strike. Do not panic. Your ball python can go off food for up to, I've had one go off food for nearly a year. I'm not joking, nearly a year. That is pushing it to the danger limit, and that is when you need to intervene. Medical attention, go to the vet. Tube feeding, I have got, if you scroll back and subscribe to my channel and scroll back, you can watch videos of this particular snake over here, a black pastel pied, which is the same age as this snake, but half the size. And it's because I had to tube feed her. She went off food for nearly a year and she almost died. She kind of just lost that instinct. Usually if they go off food and they go on a hunger strike, it's usually for about a month, maybe 2 months. Okay. 3 months, that's okay. No need to panic. When you start hitting about 5 months, 6 months with no food, but if the snake is looking still, they can go off food for that amount of time and still not lose any body condition at all. They will still look like this. They've got a very slow metabolism, and they will look fine as long as they look okay and they feel healthy. And you'll know if your snake is healthy or not. Lots of tongue flicks, very inquisitive, active at night, then you've got nothing to worry about. But if the snake starts to look really, really bad and you start getting folds of skin around the bottom here, it's time for a trip to the vet, and it's time to do assist feeding or tube feeding. And I do have videos on all of that on my YouTube channel. All you've got to do is scroll back through all my videos and you'll see on the title, assist feed, force feed, tube feeding. And that is what I do to the snakes that don't go back onto food. Some snakes will never go on a hunger strike, guys. Ball pythons are notoriously picky eaters. That is something that you need to keep in mind when purchasing your ball python. Okay, that they are not like reticulated pythons that will literally eat every single time you offer them. These snakes can be very picky. They start off on mice, jumper mice as hatchlings, and then upgrade to like fuzzies, large mice, and then from there to fuzzy rats, rat pups, rat weaners, small rats, medium rats, large rats. Okay, they will never go above. I actually think that most of my snakes don't even go on to large rats. They hang around the medium size. The only large rats that we're feeding are like the Doomerals, boas, and that's another whole video. So let's get this girl back in there, and I'm going to get her back into her racking system. Guys, you're going to experience in your time having snakes, depending on whether you've been to someone's house, another breeder's house, or a pet shop, mites. Something no breeder likes. They're like little fleas. They're little black insects. They look like little ticks, or rather they actually look like fleas, but they crawl. And you will get them. Any breeder that says, or any snake keeper that says they don't get mites is a liar. Rubbish. You're talking crap. Don't do that. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It happens. Okay. There are 2 or 3 different ways to treat mites. Okay. So you've got, I've changed the way I treat my snake for mites. Okay. If I ever get it. First of all, you've got a kill on the spot system. Okay. Now there's 2 products that I've got here. Okay. We've got something here called BioKill, and we've got something called Frontline. Okay, this is what you spray on dogs, and it's for fleas. The difference between the 2 is they both work exactly the same. You spray it on, or what you do is you spray it onto a face cloth like this, 1, 2 odd sprays, and then you take the snake. I'm not going to do it now because you don't want to. It is a harsh chemical, and you let the snake run through like that, and you wipe the snake down off the skin, take the mites off. That's killing the mites on the spot. Okay, This is a bit milder, okay? The front line is a lot stronger, and I prefer using the front line, and it's also got an ingredient inside which I'm not going to repeat now because it's somewhere on this bottle. This actually you can use to spray down the enclosure when you get mites, and it's the only one that doesn't. BioKill doesn't do this. What Frontline does, it can actually kill the eggs. Okay, a lot of people think that BioKill kills can also not only just kill the mites, but it can kill the eggs of the mites too. Incorrect, it doesn't. Only Frontline has the ingredient that will kill mite eggs in your enclosure. The difference is this bottle here is probably about 80 Rand, and this bottle here is about 700 Rand. There's 500 mils here and there's 375 mils here. Definitely a lot more expensive, but incredibly effective. This is what I use now. It's the only thing that I use when I'm treating mites, live mites on the spot on your snake. You will see them on your snake. They will get under the scales and they'll suck the blood out like a tick. You do not want that. It will make the snake sick. But it's just something that happens. You can't get away from it. But regular cleaning your enclosure, keeping it clean, changing out the substrate, using F10, guys, you're going to have hardly ever have it. But there will come a time in your life that you will have it. All right. Mite prevention. This is called Vapona. Okay. All right. It's in a very, very secure, tight packaged. It's very poisonous. And what it looks like is there's a yellow. It looks like a big like chocolate block, but it's yellow. But you cut it up into little yellow blocks like this. Okay, and if you have an enclosure, then what you do is you put it in a little container like this. You can see I've drilled little holes in around the sides. Okay, all right. The snake cannot come into contact with this in its raw form. It cannot. It is poisonous. It will kill the snake, okay? But you can take this and you put it inside the enclosure. Just put it in the corner like that, near the hot spot, and close the door. The fumes of that will kill the mites. So you can do an on the spot killing of the mites that you see with the front line. As I've said before, and I hate repeating myself, but I shall for this video, spray 1 or 2 sprays on this, wipe the snake just down once or twice. You don't want to get it in the eyes or anything like that. Just from the neck down, put it in, and then put 1 block of Vapona inside a container like that. For a racking system, I put those blocks in between the racks. So I've got 2 drawers here like this. In between the drawers on each shelf, I put a block of Vapona. I do that permanently. The lifespan of Vapona is about 3 months. What it does is it just prevents mites from coming into your collection. Okay, so I just do that as a precautionary measure. All right, you can buy that from most reptile shops. Okay, guys, if your snake is injured and it's rubbing up against the glass and it's rubbing its nose and its mouth, it gets all swollen, and you're going to get that sometimes. It looks like it's called rubbing. They're trying to get out. F10 cream. Okay, it looks like Vaseline on the inside here. I know the light is quite bright. Scoop a little bit out. You can use it on yourself even. It is the most incredible stuff. You can use it on humans as well. F10 cream. F10 is a fantastic product. Let's say, for example, now, Max, why don't you hold that for me, please, my boy? Let's say your girl now, and this is it's so strong yet it's so mild. Let's say your girl's been rubbing. Okay, you can take your hand, you just take a little bit on the face like that. You obviously grab your snake and you rub on the face. Boom, boom, boom around. Yes, she's freaking out a little bit because she doesn't know what's going on. Boom. And you've just rubbed a little bit. I've just rubbed a bit of F10 on her nose, okay? She's not exactly stoked about that, okay, but I'm doing this for an educational purposes, and it's completely harmless for the snake, okay? This is very, very mild. If she's got mouth rot, not that you're going to get that, unless you're like a massive breeder and you have issues, sometimes you can get it. I actually take these cotton like earbuds like that, and I will scoop the F10 out. I will hold the snake, and I will literally clean her entire mouth out with F10. That F10 cream. Wonderful stuff, guys. Something that you need to have in your arsenal when you're keeping your snakes. All right. If you keep your snakes and the temperature is not correct and it is too cold and you're in winter, your snakes will stand a chance of getting RI. That is a respiratory infection. It's like a flu or even pneumonia for snakes. It will eventually kill your snake if not treated. You can treat it on the spot by upping the temperature. You can treat it with F10 and make it like a nebulizer if you want to do that. Or easiest, but probably a little bit more expensive, take it straight down to the vet and get a shot of antibiotics. I keep antibiotics with me. I've been doing this long enough now and had enough vet visits. I've got Baytril here in my cupboard, and I also have other antibiotics in my fridge depending on what is wrong with the snake. I'm not going to get into that because it's advanced for the advanced keeper, okay? But that's how you would treat an RI infection, quick, and sort it out. If left untreated, your snake will eventually die, which is not what you want, okay? The guys, I think that about covers it. 42 minutes and over. That is your A to Z, guys. This is big enough for your big ball pythons. Let's see if we've got one. I don't want to pull out any that I fed last night. I have got ball pythons that are twice that length. Okay, they are in big 46-liter containers like this here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, in these tubs here like that. This is how I keep them, but it's for space reasons and it's for breeding reasons. This is your setup, guys, for your very first ball python. If you want to keep and own and have one as a pet, that is pretty much your simplistic A to Z, everything you need. Thermostat, heat pad, hot spot, cool spot, water bowl, substrate, and what I've got over here is just an ID card. It just tells me what the snake is. I've written over here what it is, the date it was born, the name of the snake, and I've got them on all of my tubs, every single one of my tubs. The date it was born, the type of snake, the name of the snake, how old it is, and what gene it is. And if it's in an enclosure, it's over there. I've just got a Velcro strap at the back. Velcro strip at the back. So guys, that is hopefully a video that helps you. I'll wing it. I don't edit. So guys, I'm just going to see if I've missed anything. Nope. I think that's pretty much it. I did have breeding down here, to a topic to discuss, but as this video is just intended for the person that wants to buy one ball python and keep it as a pet. We don't need to discuss breeding and temperatures for breeding, because that's a whole different setup that happens in winter. We drop temperatures, we do a whole bunch of different things. We do males to females, like 3 to 4 females to a male. We're not going to discuss that. That is an entirely new video. In fact, that is going to be a topic for my next video. If you are now, you've bought your first ball python, you're like me, after a couple of months, you decide, I want to breed these, and I want to start off with maybe 10 or 15 ball pythons, and I will discuss with you how to how to start that process. That's what I did. I went from 1 to about 20, then I went from 20 to about 40, and then from 40 to about 100, and then it's if you go down the rabbit hole like I did, it can be quite addictive. They are stunning animals. If you really want to see the animals that I have got snakes in my collection here that are worth well over 100,000 rand each. If you would like to see them, like and subscribe to my channel, or go back and have a look and scroll through. Just read the caption and the heading underneath. You will see a multitude of snakes. I have got lots and lots of different morphs and genes in my collection. I do this is a sideline business hobby for me. It's not what I do for a living. I just try and earn a bit of extra money on the side by breeding and selling these ball pythons. I'm going into my 3rd season, so I'm by no means a veteran in the industry at all. I am a relatively new breeder. I'm only in my 3rd breeding season now, but I've done it. I went into it quite seriously, and that's like how I pretty much do everything in my life. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. I don't do things half measures. I go full tilt. Unfortunately, the snake industry isn't so great at the moment. However, I do believe in the next 18 months to 2 years, it will recover and be back to normal. And that will be the time that I will be ready to sell a lot of hatchlings. A lot of these racks that you see behind you are breeding adults that are busy breeding at the moment, and those hatchlings will be paired up in 2026 and 2027. By then, whatever I don't want, I will be selling. So I would say from 2025 and 2026, the ball python industry will be back to normal, and the hatchlings that we have this season and next season will be selling quite easily, and hopefully I can make my money back and a bit extra. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you do have any questions and you'd like to know more, please put a comment below. I'm also on Instagram, northcoast_constrictors. Jump on there, follow us. You can even send me a direct message or a digital message. I don't know what it's, a DM, asking me for advice. I will talk you through it. I will text you back on DM if you've got any questions on how to set things up if you're unsure about owning your first ball python. Also, as I say, I am still relatively new to this, although I've been doing it for three years. There's guys that have been doing it for 40 years, 30 and 40 years that know a lot more than me. And if you search YouTube and Instagram, you can find them. Very famous breeders make a lot of great YouTube videos out there, especially for more ball python keepers. And then you can upgrade from there, and then you can see what projects you want to work on. And the sky's the limit with ball pythons, which is the reason why we do it. There's always something new to make. You can always make a new gene and always make a new morph. Okay, this is one of those type of snakes that when you mix the breeding, and that is an entirely different video, you will always, every single year, someone is producing something that nobody else has produced in a different color, a different pattern, some different morph, some different combination, which will make that snake completely unique. We did it this last breeding season. We created 2 world's firsts. 3 of them were identical. 1 was a different gene, never been done before. The particular combination of genes, we called one the electric storm, we called one the dark storm. If you go back and look at my videos, you will see them. If you go into my Instagram, you will see them. They're the only ones of their kind in the world. So guys, there you go. There you have it. Good luck. If you are going to buy your ball python, please make sure you have all of those things in place. All of these things to take care of your ball python to ensure that it has a healthy environment in which to live, and you can enjoy that snake for a good 20 to 25 years. That is how long they live for. Guys, from myself and my son Max, who started the whole ball rolling here for us with North Coast Constrictors, and he's the one that actually got me to start a YouTube channel. I know he hasn't said much, Anything you want to say to anybody before we sign out?
Like and subscribe.
Max wants us to get as many followers and subscribers as we can get, and we're busy working on it. The last time I asked and I said like and subscribe, I had a couple of people unsubscribe. So it's almost like, it almost felt like people did it on purpose. It's kind of crazy. You know, we're trying to hit the 1,000 mark. So yeah, if you're one of those guys that go and hit unsubscribe now, well, cheers.
Goodbye.
See you later. Goodbye. If you want to join the journey with us and you hit that subscribe button, welcome. It'll be great to have you, and you join the journey with us. And there is so much more to come with us. We've just started our 2023 breeding season. We've got some amazing snakes coming. Hey, Max? All right. Like the Desert Ghost Project, the Clown Pod Project, the Lace Project. We've got some really, really incredible stuff to show you guys. But that's for another whole video. This is 50 minutes long now, so it's definitely time to sign up. So from us, Carl and Max, North Coast Constrictors, see you on the next video. Cheers.